It's spring week 6 here in Apothecaria, and in this episode, Mistress Sweetwater learns the difference between helping and rescuing. Hey there, welcome to Drawing Expressions. I'm Parz and yeah, this is another Apothecaria episode, and spring week 6 rest. So many episodes behind us, many more to go, and yeah, we're just gonna work our way through it. Before we get into the episode directly, let us first get into the things we always like to talk about, or at least me, what I always like to talk about is the guidelines. Guidelines, they bend. They will never fail you because they bend, they never break. All right, honoring the two types of writers, the planner and the pantser. So in the planner section, no surprises if you've been watching prior videos along this series. The planner is the narration and also how it came to be. The pantser section today is going to be talking about using clear points of view to explore somewhat murky topics. So we'll see what all that is about in a little bit. But first, before we do anything else, let us breathe and stretch. So sit up, have your sit bones sitting nicely in your chair, and take a nice deep breath. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, and hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale in. And a little stretch. There we go. Okay. That just feels so good. Okay, so we're just going to jump straight into the narration, and yeah, pay attention to the storyline, because there's a quiz at the end. All right. This is called Helping versus Rescuing. Early morning, the time when the transition from night to day hasn't started just yet. There's a stillness as night gets ready to recede. Day is busy making its coffee, stretching, getting ready, but it hasn't left the house yet so as to be known to the sleeping world. It's the hushed breath before activity begins. At least in most houses. Not this one. Not this morning, at least. In this one, this witch wishes she were allowed to sleep longer to enjoy the warmth of bed covers until dawn. I mean, dawn! It's not too much to ask for, is it? Apparently the answer is yes. Yes, it is. I know why I'm up. I'm not happy with myself this morning, and I know I should do something about it. I know this because this is the theme of so many thoughts pounding around in my skull. At least if I get up and start to do something, I can get my mind off my guilt. Perhaps even convince it to go away. Which I know full well it won't, but a witch can at least try. And besides, it's too early to do anything about it anyway. So I'll do something else, and maybe, just maybe, I'll work it all out. It didn't help that a presumed sleeping mouse-eye just said, right after my last thought on the subject. As I got up and stretched, I saw the gentle glow from behind the note on the mantelpiece. That, I think, is worthy of exploration. It'll take my mind off of other things. And besides, if it's from Pip, I don't want to leave her waiting on a reply. My usual morning routine can wait. I really want to see what the note says and see what's glowing. Note to self. When trying to read a note, get the fire going first. It's amazing how much light there isn't in the early morning. Next note to self. In the dark, writing may not be visible, but it gives a much better perspective on anything that happens to be gently glowing. I set the note aside and saw what lay behind it. It's a small orb, tiny really, sitting on the mantelpiece, but not just sitting, more like gently pulsating. Along with the color changing intensity, the color itself seemed to shift, whites, blues, turquoises, more. And the sphere itself gently bounced. The harder I looked at it, the more movement I saw. It was mesmerizing. It was around that point that my lack of even visiting the privy started to catch up with me. I pulled myself away and got my daily routine done. Feeling much more comfortable and with the fire stoked, I was able to read the note. It was, indeed, from Pip. Yay! And it identified my new little glowing friend as a popalock, that it emits bursts of colored magic, needs feeding twice daily, and won't tolerate sun nor bugs. The note specifically says, "Sweet, that poem you wrote made me wonder, do we see the same clouds? I had a night bursting with magic last night, and we are hoping to save the popalock. Feed twice daily, no sunshine or bugs. Tiny bursts of magic, raw and magic. And our resident poppy gave birth. I'm sending one to you for safekeeping. I hope you enjoy its colors. Please send me other poems. I love reading them. You are a great friend. Love, Pip." And there is a bunch of art and drawings and all sorts of stuff. Feed twice daily. And I've had it for how long? It looks alive, at least. And with all the movement, I assume it's happy. And the note says something about trying to save this popalock. Save it from what? Simply dying? Or something more predatory? Or sinister? I'm going to have to write back and get some clearer instructions on the little thing. In the meantime, what do I do with it? I hoped Mouse Eye could shed a light on the situation. Mouse Eye? A little suspiciously, the sound of snoring began to come from his spot in the spirit house. "Mouse Eye," I said, a little louder. "Must I?" came the response, and then the suspicious snoring continued. "Is that where we are now? Preemptive must-I-ing?" "Mm-hmm." "Well, for now anyway, everything seems okay. What happens if I touch it? It's warm, not hot. Pleasant. There's a vibration, subtle. The color changed slightly, perhaps a bit pastel-y. And when I went to lift my finger off, it stuck to it. Interesting. I brought it closer to my face. "Hello there. I'm Sweet. I hope you're happy here in my cottage." I didn't expect what happened next. It floated off of my finger and landed on the spirit house. Okay, I guess it can take care of itself better than I'd originally assumed. And that's where I was as the sun rose. Happy, warm, enjoying a steaming tea, secure in my ability to help people, which brought back an uncomfortable thought. Why had I felt the need to add sweet to the potion I gave to Roger Rogerson? 12 silver worth of sweet. The sweet alone was more than Roger would have made from his guarding of the doctor. How could someone make a living if they had to pay out so much in a single treatment? Especially if a certain witch were to overmake a potion. Oh, the same thoughts that had greeted me in the dark were now badgering me in the light. There was no helping it. I had to make things right. And that meant a trip to High Rannoch. I did my best to rehearse what I'd say to Roger and what he might say in response. How angry he might be because of how much I charged him. How disappointed he could be in me for not being more thoughtful in my care, not being more helpful in my customer service, not being as useful a resource to the community as I could be. I must admit the discussions in my imagination turned into arguments, recriminations, accusations, rejections. I felt miserable. I wanted to turn around, go back to the cottage, and put a "Do Not Disturb" sign just so as I could hide and never see anyone again. But my legs got me to the High Rannoch gate. Open, as always. Why are there walls if the gate is always open? I wondered. But that attempt at distraction was swept aside with visions of poor Roger eating a crust of bread and being thankful to the person who'd mindlessly cast it aside. Through the gates I went. The Copper Fox Tavern seemed the best place to start looking for Roger. Fussy was up and serving a family breakfast. I caught his attention as I walked in. "Mistress Sweetwater, what can I get you?" I swallowed, gathered my courage, and asked for Roger's address. "He's in the back. He's just—" "Thank you." I strode past him. "But, mistress, he's—" I ignored whatever he was trying to say, I was finally ready to do this, and if I stopped now, I might never be able to summon up the courage again. I went through the inn and out the back, following the sound of singing. Roger's singing. Meanwhile, I faintly heard scrambling behind me. I stepped out. Roger had a small bowl raised over his head. A very wet and entirely unclothed Roger dropped the small bowl onto his head, which is when Fussy caught up. Begging your pardon, but he's bathing, miss." The tableau froze. Roger then said, "Have you eaten, miss? Fussy, would you mind laying a table for two?" I felt Fussy's arm wrap around my shoulders, steering me back to the common room. "He'll just be a minute, I'm sure. What can I get you?" It was difficult to think what with the new flood of mortification I was feeling. I just looked at him. "How about I get you the house special? Everyone likes it." "Okay, thank you," was all I could manage. A few minutes later, a still wet but very much clothed Roger joined me. He was smiling. We both tried talking at the same time, stopped, tried again at the same time, stopped. Our food arrived, which served as a pleasant distraction. I tried talking again, but Roger put his hand up to stop me. "I just want to say that when you came storming out and saw me washing, your face, priceless. I would have burst out laughing, but it's clear there's something on your mind, so let me shut up now and let you talk." He sat back and gave me the floor. I sat up, bent forward, and began. "Roger, I want you to know that I've been thinking about the potion I made you and its cost. I feel like I didn't take into consideration your living standards, and He held up a hand again. "I've faced fearsome beasts in my time, so just say what you need to say." I stopped. "Fearsome beasts? You doubt me?" "A little, yes." His smile grew, carrying levels of humor and abashedness. "Okay, so maybe not as fearsome as I might try to imply, but yes, I've been to places most folks haven't, so a few words don't scare me." He leaned back again. Once again, I had the floor. "Look, you make 10 silver on a guarding job. I charged you 42 for a potion. How can you afford to live if I do that? I want to at least refund you the silver I charged for all the sweet I added." And I started digging in my pocket. Roger stopped me and smiled. "I appreciate that you care about all this. I really do. You cared for me when I came to you, made a potion that, let's face it, I wanted to keep drinking long after it was all gone, and allowed me to stay at your cottage. Fussy tells me all the time that I should charge what I think is fair to my customers. Most times there's no trouble at all. This last time there was. So thank you for the offer, but I can't accept anything back that I paid to you." This I couldn't accept. So I tried a different argument. "Why didn't the doctor help you? Why didn't he—" The hand had gone up again. "But he did. It's just that I opted to not take his pills. And I'm glad I didn't. Your potion worked a treat, and I'm ready to guide and guard again." But how— Look, sometimes what's supposed to be a 3-hour tour becomes something more serious. I can honestly say, and I'm being honest here, that there have been times that it's only been my courage that's kept my clients from being lost or worse. And yes, in the great ocean of adventure, I can feel like a little minnow, but I never feel alone. I suppose shipwrecked would work better for this analogy. So whether I'm guiding a millionaire and his wife, or a professor, or whomever, I know it'll all be okay. And that you have proven yourself to be able to help me so handedly, that helps reinforce that idea. So, hand out of your pocket, please, and let's enjoy Fussy's house special." And then he whispered, "Make sure to compliment him on the food. He's fussy about how people perceive it." He smiled again, a little conspiratorial one. I returned it. The father of the family that had finished breakfast approached the table. "Roger, we're on for tomorrow, yes?" Roger nodded. "Hank, before you go, have you met the new witch, Mistress Sweetwater? Worked a wonder on me the other day." We all exchanged pleasantries, and then the father left. I looked over at Roger, who just shrugged. "Don't mention it. It's what I do." I felt more at ease in this minute than I'd felt since treating Roger. "I have to admit, Roger, I didn't see you as being I don't know. I mean, you're energetic and enthusiastic, clearly able to take care of yourself from physical threats, but I didn't think of you as, business savvy. So you thought I wasn't, what, smart enough to take care of myself? When you put it that way. He crossed his arms in front of his chest. Okay, fair thought. I wasn't the best student, but I'm doing well enough. Between Fussy helping me out and my adventuring, it's all good. So, you all good? He reached across the table for my hands. I let him take them. He looked me in my eyes. All good? I felt so much better. I was lost in my relief. I heard myself say, yes, good. He released my hands, took a minute, then made to get up. I've got to get busy, so I hope you'll excuse me, but do make sure to give the food 2 thumbs up. And with that, he left. Although I was tempted to linger, I decided to start making my way back home. The thoughts I'd had of checking in on my former patients to make sure they were doing well evaporated. The thoughts of going to the herbology school to, I don't know what, also disappeared. I don't need to check in on Francie, or the doctor, or Madame Hightower. I could care from my cottage, but I don't need anyone to prove to me that they're okay. I don't need to try to control the lives of anyone, except, of course, myself. I don't need to rescue anyone. What a relief. What a weight off my shoulders. I felt good. Who knew that witching could be such a complicated affair? As I walked back to the cottage, I wondered if the old witch had faced these same problems. Probably, I found myself answering myself. I wonder how she'd fared, how she'd managed all the expectations, the requests, the demands, the reasonable and the unreasonable, all the different ways life could try, could pull, could push, cajole. No wonder a witch's cottage sits a comfortable distance outside of town, and those walls, those pitiful walls trying to keep everything out. Or maybe just the harmful, the dangerous, the unwanted out. Ugh. Give me free access to wild lands any day. As I approached the cottage grounds, a dark shape flew low over my head, followed by an unspeakable greasy reek. I looked up as a harpy landed on a low-hanging branch. How to describe a harpy? To simply say that they are a combination of a woman, head and chest, and a vulture, all the rest, is like saying a giant explosion is a combination of a bit of fire and enthusiasm. Harpies are nasty. They stink, have mouths that would make sailors cringe. Let's face it, if there's a single redeeming quality, I'm not aware of it. How they've been appointed as the mail delivery service, I'll never know. "Hello, princess!" it shrieked. Did I mention they don't talk exactly? They only shriek. "You been expecting a package? Got your hopes up to actually receive whatever this is?" It held up a bit of card with a small bag attached. The thing to remember when dealing with a mail delivery, I think I'd experienced only 1 or 2 at my childhood home, is to not give the harpy any satisfaction in wanting the package. They usually get bored and drop it, sometimes in a convenient place, then leave. So I didn't give the harpy any attention, simply said no, then walked away. The harpy shrieked in frustration, then flew ahead of me again. "Don't you want this wood care oil, good for brooms and wands?" I forgot to mention that they'll typically read your mail. "No, thank you." They also don't like manners. It shrieked again. "Fie! On your head, then!" She dropped it, then took off. She did try to poop on me as she flew away, but I was able to step out of the way. One last shriek of frustration as it flew off, and that was that. As I picked up the bit of mail, I was grateful the harpy had been in a relatively good mood. One last thought dashed through my head. Why would a type of creature, one that only has human female parts, agree to deliver mail? You'd think something with only human male parts, like a satyr, would be more appropriate. Then again, satyrs aren't big on schedules and responsibility. They just want to party all day, every day. The card was addressed to the High Witch of Rannoch, or current resident. On the back was a sales pitch by a newly established company looking to sell a better brand of wood soap to help keep a witch's wooden tools clean and weather protected. The bag held a small sample, formed into an easy-to-transport bar. Well, when I have a broom or a wand, this might become useful. For right now, however, it's simply something to store away. I opened the door to my cottage. The usual comfortable dark had been replaced with the glow coming from Popalock floating happily in the middle of the cottage. It's nice. I'm so used to only having light when things are open or the fire's going, or for special times, a candle's light. It's like a bit of fantastical living. What a luxury. However, it wasn't up to me if this lovely glowing orb stays or goes. I had to ask the house. I sat and thought, breathed and asked, and got back acceptance, even happiness that I was going to be pleased. I opened my eyes and found Popalock floating near my hand, which was folded in my lap. I opened it and allowed Pop to land on my palm. There was that sensation of warmth, of comfort. I could feel it gently melding with me, accepting my energy and offering me its own. I thought back to Pips's note and how she'd sent it here to save it. Maybe in Pips's land something would eat this. Whatever the situation there, I was going to take care of this one here. But I did need to send Pip a note. I gently let Pop, it felt okay to call her that, and she was definitely a she, but why I decided that, I don't know, float off, and I got my writing things together and started to compose. I figured at some point that if I was going to have a pen pal in the here yet not here, I'd better put together a small kit for writing. This is what I wrote. Hi, Pip. Thank you for the Popalock. I'm calling her Pop for short. She seems to like it here. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to provide a food source for her, but she's glowing and floating so prettily that I think she's doing okay. And I'm not sure who or what we're trying to keep Pop safe from, but my cottage has already withstood a necromancer's attack, so if anything is out to get her, here, she should be safe. What shall I say of who's come my way? The lovely one now known as Pop. Her gentle glow, a moon, you know, is lighting up the dark a lot. She floats so free and alights on me, never dims and never stops. She's found a home where she can roam, and the spirit house is also her cot. Mouse Eye, I believe, is willingly sharing. I think. Sweet. And since Pip has sent me some things, I thought I'd send her the wood soap. If I can simply order it and have it delivered, nope, check that. Ask Bob to have it brought in, then maybe where she is, they don't have it. At least not yet. So maybe I'm doing things differently than the old witch. Maybe she didn't have a Pip, or a Pop, or a Fen, and definitely not a Mouse Eye, but I have love and acceptance. What more does anyone need? And that is the end of the episode. Let's do a little breathing and stretching. There's the screen. We're ready to go. Take a nice deep breath. Here we go. And I'll stretch. All right, just come back here. And actually, I'm gonna just a little bit of a twist. I haven't done a little bit of a twist in a long time. Probably ever on camera. There we go. Okay, so let's talk about what all went into the creative mixing bowl for today's episode. And for that, I'm going to call up my screen. There we are. So take a screenshot. There's not much here. So just bring it back. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so let's do a couple of in-depth discussions on what the guidebook prompts were. So the first thing I want to talk about is Alicia, my lovely lady love, sent me the note and the Popalock. So first off, what is a Popalock? It is something she dreamed up. She was using her imagination in her story and came up with this creature and found out things about it, and she decided she wanted to share the fun with me, and so she sent it through the here yet not here. right? So the things that I have received, so I've gotten two versions, well, not versions, actually, yeah, let's call it versions. So one version is between she and I talking about what it is that she intended and what she was doing and all that kind of stuff, and me following the story. So I'm very aware of all that stuff that's going on. And then there's the version that came through the mail, right? Her note. So what did it say specifically? So I know things, me, in real life, that Sweet does not know. So when I'm writing from Sweet's perspective, I need to remember that. And so we're going to be taking it pretty much based on the description that is in the note. And so we have a brief description there. And really, for any type of thing like this, where you're working with the here yet not here, where you have someone who is sending in basically a writing prompt from just a different source, right? It's not coming from the guidebook, it's coming from somebody else. There's two different ways to respond to it. The first way to respond to it is to look at it and say, oh my God, this is just so out of the blue and I don't know what to do with it. And it's going to ruin my game because it's destabilizing everything. And how am I supposed to conceptualize? And right, that can totally happen. The other way to look at it, and I'm sure there's more ways than this, I'm only going to bring up these two. The other way, and the way that I prefer to look at it, and so in my opinion, it's the better way, but that's open for debate, is to view it like it's improv. And in improv, what the other person puts out into the world, you say yes to that and then add to it, right? You don't reject from what is being brought in. You say yes, you accept, and then you work with it. And I think that's a lot more fun. So this pop is actually becomes quite an interesting part of episodes following. And, you know, I had no idea that it was going to be doing any of that. And it's simply because Pop came into the story. And yeah, so I'm very happy that Pop is here, and very happy to be working with Pop at this point. Okay. So the other thing that was in the note from Pip, so Alicia's witch, her name is Pip, if we hadn't picked that up already. So the other thing we got is a request for more poetry. So I used the experience with the Popalock as the basis for the poem. And since we've written poetry before, now I feel like it's okay to be a little bit more complicated and to have a little bit more structure in the poetry. And so I think that came out versus what was there before. She's not an expert in poetry, you know, so we're not going to be doing a lot of like really complicated poetry things, but this is something that I think is a reasonable level of poetry that we can expect someone to be using. Okay. The last bit that I wanted to get into with the details, the male harpy. So this comes from the prompt from entering the village, so that this gets triggered, this male harpy. So the male harpy has a parcel that is not worth all that much. So so a couple things here. So first off, harpies, strictly speaking, are half women, half bird, right? So you get to choose which bird is chosen. In a lot of video games where harpies show up, I'm thinking of The Witcher, just right off the top of my head. Harpies are nasty, dirty bird things, right? They're sort of like half woman, half vulture, and that's why I went with this particular depiction of a harpy. But harpies can be, you know, a combination of women and any bird, right? Okay, so let's talk about what's been written before. And the central, I guess the big central piece to this particular episode is charging Roger Rogerson 42 silver for a cure last episode. So it was 30 for the actual potion, and then 3 doses of sweet at 4 silver each, so another 12, so 42 all told. So he makes 10 per guiding trip, and we know that as a detail from the guidebook. So that got me thinking about this particular instance. What do we do? And that set the whole scene. Okay, so which leads us into the imagination piece of the creative mixing bowl. And so, yeah, let's just keep on talking about Roger. So that conundrum, how do we handle these 2 factors, both of which are in the guidebook, right? So the 10 silver that Roger charges per adventure trip versus the amount of money that I charge for a potion, and then including in that the amount of money that I charge per amount of sweet. Yeah, that can add up, right? And so how do you handle that with someone who is charging so much less? Seems very inequitable. And so became the basis for this episode. So how do you handle that? And so as I was beginning to write the episode, Alicia and I actually had a bit of a conversation about helping energy versus rescuing energy and what each of those would look like. And so the thing that I tried to express was to be helpful without being rescuing. So let us talk about the difference between helping and rescuing real briefly. So helping is, I see someone in trouble, I offer to help them. Okay, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Rescuing is where you feel duty bound to protect someone from themselves, or to protect you from them, or to protect you from you, right? So I'm trying to protect Roger in that moment from my overcharging. And, you know, there's a real debate that goes on there. Those 3 points of sweet that I wanted to refund. Is that helping? Is that rescuing? How would that be viewed, right? And this is something that we can actually put in, and I'm going to have a view, and Alicia has a view, and you, the viewer, has a view as to what you think should have happened or what you would do in this particular situation. And it's great because it's a conversation starter, right? I'm not writing to say this is the right way. I am writing to say this is an option. What do you think of it? And so I hope it proved to be a little bit of food for thought, to be something of a conversation starter. What would you do? Would it be helping? Would it be rescuing? What are your definitions? Do you have them? So anyway, that is that. Okay. So during the conversation with Roger, I found myself having Roger explain his point of view using language that evolved or devolved, up to you, into references and / Easter eggs. I think I would call these references related to Gilligan's Island. And I am dating myself something heavy right now because I don't know how long Gilligan's Island has not been on the air, but it was definitely on the air when I was a kid. Yeah, so there's a stream of things that are little references to the Gilligan's Island theme song. If you're curious at all, look it up. I'm sure it's on YouTube. Yeah, anyways, it was fun bringing up something from my childhood. So the last thing I wanted to talk about within the imagination piece is, okay, so we have the mail harpy and it delivers a parcel, not worth very much. And I decided to make it wood soap. Now, this is one of those areas where I find it a little bit more difficult to tread what would have been in this parcel. I just didn't know. So I first decided, okay, I'm just going to have fun and say like, okay, to owner or current resident, because that's just such a, junk mail kind of thing. And then, okay, what's it going to be? Sometimes you get samples in the mail. All right, a little bit of laundry detergent or, God knows what. So I thought, okay, maybe they're targeting witches with some sort of, wood protection product. So I put it into a bar of soap so it's easier to carry, put it into a little bag so it's appropriate for the setting, and, had it brought over. And so now what am I supposed to do with this bar of soap? Could have held on to it. I could have used it with protecting the interior of Miss Bogfire, my coracle boat, but opted not to. I could have used it on other things. I just didn't really know what to do with it. And, here is this opportunity to give something to Pip. Now, it is a regifting. So it sort of stands right up there with the, the fruit cake that you didn't expect nor want, and just kind of shoving that over. But it also speaks to Pips's difficulty in sort of understanding social cues and whatnot. Yeah, she is a little bit autistic. Why not? And maybe wouldn't understand why maybe it would be inappropriate to send it. Maybe it wouldn't be, right? Because we've gotten all sorts of cool stuff from Pip. Wouldn't it be cool to give something back? We can do a poem, yes, absolutely, but something more. And so this bar of soap was an attempt to do something more. Falls kind of flat when you know all the details. But it's an attempt. Okay, so welcome to the pantser section in this presentation, and using clear point of view to explore murky topics. And so I'm going to bring us back to the whole Sweet and Roger Rogerson thing. So there are 2 points of view that are being expressed. Right? She thinks she needs to protect everyone from everything, whereas he believes he's navigating the world just fine and thinks she is too. So there's 2 different ways of viewing the world, and this one transaction has those 2 viewpoints collide. So in working with these types of things, these types of ideas, these types of beliefs, remember that for the most part, people believe that they are in the right, or that they are right, and they have the reasoning to back them up, right? Sweet has hers, Roger has his, and they were both expressed in that exchange at the Copper Fox Tavern. And we may not agree with one or both of the points of view. We may agree with both, right? But when we write about it, you do have to adopt, or you should adopt, guideline, you should adopt the thought process for each person, for each character, so that when you're writing about it, it's convincing, right? Because each one feels not just that there's reasons, but they're convinced of their reasons why they are right. So back again to Sweet and Roger and that awkward transaction, that awkward conversation. Regardless of how their conversation could have gone, so long as you prevent clear points of view, it can help explain a murky transaction, a murky exchange, a murky intersection of 2 points of view. And at least when you walk out of it and something has happened, you understand why and you understand how. And that can help readers, and you being the first reader, that can help readers to really ground into who is this character? Who is this person? What is their belief system? Very helpful. Okay, so that pretty much covers everything that I wanted to cover in this video and in this episode. So let me bring us over to the drawing expressions last line of our drawing expressions haiku. A creative space, holistically supportive. Please like, share, subscribe. Please. And for all that, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Thank you for following along. And I hope to see you in 2 weeks' time. And until then, bye for now.